This is Jpar, and you are listening to The New Review. Today on the show, we have Clayton, we have Kathy, and we have Da Boo. Now, this week, we're going to be reviewing the big one. It's Star Wars The Last Jedi. That's right, we know every nerd in town has gone to see this movie, and every nerd anywhere, doesn't matter where you are, anyone who's just a Star Wars fan is just clamoring to see this movie. And we got the chance to do that last night, and we're here to review it for you. We're going to do the basic stuff, which is, let you know what we think, give it a rating, and then we'll get into spoilers. So we're not going to get into spoilers right away, so you can actually listen a little bit if you haven't seen it, and then we'll flip into spoiler town about maybe 10 minutes in. We'll let you know before we get there. But say hello to the crowd, everybody!
Hey guys, Clayton here.
Hey, it's Kat.
Hey-o, Da Boo here.
And we are about to break down Star Wars The Last Jedi for you, which is episode... Oh, what are we at? Episode 8 in the Skywalker saga of the legendary Star Wars franchise. So this is continuing the story of Rey, who is we're presumably going to be, learning with Luke Skywalker, because Mark Hamill does make his return to the Star Wars series. And, of course, we still have Carrie Fisher carrying over to play Leia. We got Adam Driver. We have Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Andy Serkis, Lupita Nyong'o, and then others. And, of course, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, and Gwendolyn Chrisley as Phasma, and others. Others are here.
Laura Dern and Benicio
del Toro.
Toro.
Laura Dern's in this movie!
And Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro's in this movie. I forgot about those people. There's a lot that happens in this movie. Yeah. I'm going to start with Kathy. It's been a while since Kathy has joined us for a review, so she can start off with her first impressions. You're not going to give it a rating just yet. You're just going to, just ease us into this. What were your first impressions?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't know. It's basically... I figured it felt like it was... I wasn't in Star Wars pocket. I thought it was... I don't know. It just didn't feel like a Star Wars movie to me exactly, but it was a good movie. It was visually appealing, you know what I mean? There were funny moments, But overall, it felt a little short for me,
Short? Like lengthwise?
No, it felt like...
Because it was long.
No. The Star Wars feel fell short for me. It didn't feel like a Star Wars
let's
movie.
talk about how were you pumped up for this? Like, what were you thinking of Force Awakens when you saw it?
Okay, I was really, really looking forward to this movie. I wanted to see, how it was going to progress and whatever. I went in, excited, and then I seen the scroll. Everyone knows about the scroll, so I'm not giving away anything.
Of course it's going to be there because it's the song. It's not like they're going to cheap out like Rogue One because this is a part of the Skywalker story. I felt like a kid
watching the scroll, and I was looking forward to that, and I was like, yay! Okay. It was just, I was pumped going in, less pumped coming out. That's basically it.
Da Boo, first impressions.
Well, I do recall one thing going into this film, and that it was a lot of the hype built around the eventual arrival of Mr. Skywalker. Master Skywalker is what I should be saying. We're dealing with a character that's been kind of outside of the Star Wars universe for quite a few years now. So now that he's finally back and officially back on the screen as Luke, that's basically the driving force I had in mind going into this film. So given there was so much hype built around that alone, expectations were definitely high. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, though. I feel like there was always so much of this hype that I always tend to do the opposite that everyone else does. I keep my expectations a little low. So having said that, there are some comments I'll leave for last, but I feel like the hype really, it almost ruined it for me, to be honest with you. There was just so much talk about this movie. There wasn't enough room to breathe to allow it to kind of come to be, There was just too much, way too much built around it. So I think that might have been the biggest downfall right now.
And for me, I'm actually someone who actually liked Force Awakens. How did you guys react to Force Awakens?
I liked it.
And did you like Daisy Ridley as Rey?
Yeah.
She's
Oh yeah,
perfectly
no,
fine.
I did like her. She carried the character very well. I think.
So that's the thing for me. I know there's a lot of like Force Awakens haters out there, so they probably actually like this movie for some odd reason. Sorry, try not to get into what I think about it just yet. But I am a Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. They're like some of my favorite movies. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, the original Star Wars. I even feel weird calling it A New Hope, because as soon as I call it New Hope, I start thinking special edition stuff. That's what I start thinking of. And, I'm not a fan of the prequels. In fact, I try to keep those separate from this. So when I saw Force Awakens, a lot of my worries were alleviated, and I was like, yes, it's good. Like, they got the tone right. They got a new character that I can get invested in. Like, this is good. I like this. It's got the heart of Star Wars. Now, whether this movie has the heart of Star Wars, I'll let you know in a bit. First impressions, Clayton.
Okay, like Dave said, and like Kathy said, and you said too, like, that my expectations going into the movie was that they made a lot of new characters in Force Awakens that seemed like they were really compelling. Supreme Leader Snoke, Admiral or General Hux, Daisy Ridley's Rey. I was really hoping to see how all of those characters were going to extend into the new movie. So I was pretty hyped. I regrettably had some plot points ruined for me by internet trolls, which kind of brought it down a little bit, but I tried not to let that dampen my spirits for the new movie. They've been pumping it up all year long, right? Like, this has been the movie event of the year. So I went into it with fairly high hopes.
And whether they were met, we'll let you know in a bit. Now, Kathy, what's your history with Star Wars?
Oh gosh, I've been watching Star Wars since it came out. I am old enough to say yes, I watched the first one on film in Toronto. It was awesome, and I've been following it ever since. I'm a huge fan of, especially the original three, of course. Less of a fan of the prequels, even though I did still enjoy them. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still a fan. It's still Star Wars, I can't even help it. So yeah, like no matter what, I'll always like a Star Wars movie to some level.
Okay, so did you want to break down a rating for us, but not give any spoilers away, and kind of let us know a little bit how you got there?
I gave it a 3.5 only because it felt like more of a nod to a Star Wars movie than feeling like a Star Wars movie.
I would agree with that.
I
endorse that
kind of
comment.
like that Spaceballs is based on Star Wars. Like, it felt like a movie that was based off of Star Wars instead of being Star Wars.
Actually a part of the saga story.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's a bad tone, man. It's not supposed to feel like that.
And it sickens me to give it a 3.5. It's Star Wars, but yeah, no, I'm feeling 3.5 here. And it breaks my heart.
That is a fair
3.5 is still a 7 out of 10, though.
Yeah,
Right?
It's still a pass.
I think you're being generous. Deborah.
Well, you know me though. That's low for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coming from you guys, we all know I'm a huge science fiction fan. I will admit I am more of a Star Trek fan than Star Wars, but that's it. Yes, that's my name. But the point of the matter is, my point is that I still thoroughly enjoy watching Star Wars movies for what exactly it brings to the table, which is this outer experience of a world that you'll never get to see in true reality, right? I mean, that's exactly what science fiction is. It's outside of the realm of reality, so to speak. And that level of imagination takes a certain amount of finesse to get me to be, as you had said, Jay, invested. When you want to have me invest into a character, invested in their own story, whether it be a brand new one or one that's being continued from a previous title, there's certain steps that need to be followed. And I feel that's where you said that, Kathy, earlier, where it's almost as though it's almost like a proper nod to a Star Wars movie. If someone had all the right elements to create a Star Wars movie, but didn't know quite where they were going with it, that's exactly what this goddamn movie was. But I just felt like they had potential. They had all the right elements to make this work and it's still a blockbuster hit. That's the funny thing about this. It's not that I can downsize it to anything less. It's a blockbuster movie here on all levels. But when all the right major scenes in the movie turn out a bit flat by the end of it, and they keep repeating that, yeah, I start to worry. So for me, the 3.5 out of 5 was about the most I could give it myself. It's not a bad movie. It's still a lot of fun. It is worth seeing in theaters, definitely. But it is a movie that needs to be refined on the third part. I'm kind of saddened even more so because I'm a big fan of part 2s in a trilogy, because the second part tends to be the darkest and most...
Empire, I think, has set this standard in movies where, like, man, part 2s are so badass. You even look like Two Towers for, like, Lord of the Rings. Like, how badass is Two Towers with the fight at Helm's Deep? Like,
absolutely. And I think that's a part of the message here, for me anyway, was that I felt like I was expecting a lot. Not just because of the hype, which was one thing that had me worried, but it was also because my own expectations were already immensely high, and even more so because it's a part 2. So.
Can I, like, is it fair to say, like, a part 2 is supposed to give you hope going into the third one? It's supposed to get you amped up for the final part.
It is. You know what, the way I look at a sequel, and maybe it's just me, I guess, but when I look forward to a part 2, I look for the misery, the hopelessness.
Yeah.
For one reason, because you expect the third part to come back on itself and say, oh no, there's still hope. Look, the characters, they still have a chance to live or a chance to win or whatever. The point is, the second movie was to kind of establish like this chance that, oh, the heroes may not come out alive in this end, or they may not actually win. There's just something that they've lost immensely by the end of the second film. This movie had a bit of that. And we will get that into the spoilers, but I feel like the tone, as Kathy had said, just wasn't quite there. And I think that's the most disappointing thing about this.
Yeah, big time. All right, Clayton, I'm actually going to let you go before me here.
Okay. I have a long history with Star Wars as well. I remember vividly watching all 3 VHS tapes, the original CBS cuts on VHS until we practically wore the tapes
CBS
out.
Fox.
Yeah, the CBS Fox.
Fox is now owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So all of that is owned by Disney now.
So,
Woo!
And for me, like, Star Wars was always like way different than most other science fiction, because they introduced the idea of religion and swords and sorcery into space combat,
which is so cool.
So this string of movies is I know a lot of people were complaining about the fact that they're like, oh, you can't do that with a Star Wars movie, but this is a series of movies where the rules have continuously been rewritten. They're always evolving. Things are always changing. You can always make new rules. So it's nice to see that they went ahead and did something fresh and changed some stuff up. Like Kat and Dave both said, though, this doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. Some of the choices in direction feel like they were added to satisfy the 2017 Marvel juggernaut. I can't. There's no other way to put it. Like, they Marvelized the movie.
Yeah, they kind of did. Like, right away, I think we're not going to say, like, what scene, but right away, like, right off the hop, we barely got into the movie, and you were just like, what is going on? And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, they included Marvel humor in Star Wars. Why did they do that?
And the immediacy that they did that with was just weird. So
it was odd. It was like the humor was awkward.
And they used humor to underscore some of the more important
parts
scenes,
that we were waiting to see as Star Wars fans.
Yeah, so we're giving ratings now?
Yeah, give your rating.
Okay, I'm going to give it a very generous 3. Because it's not like it's not beautiful. The music is there, the actors are there, the plot is there, everything's there, but it just, nothing really gels. The movie should be more than the sum of its parts, and it's just not. Like, this is a movie, like you guys had said, this is the sequel. This is the second part of a 3-act play. So in the first act, you introduce all the players, right? You introduce your good guys, your bad guys, the overarching plot that's going to carry through the 3 movies. And at the end, they score what seems to them to be a major victory, which isn't really a major victory. In the second one, you put all of the heroes in the worst possible position you can. You make the situation seem extremely dire. And so when you're going into the third one, you're really rooting for the good guys, and they have to overcome overwhelming odds, and then they get out of it at the end.
Yeah.
This movie throws that on its head. This movie is going to break the trilogy in half. and I'll explain why after. I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much right now, but it definitely feels odd. It's a very odd second part.
Yeah, and I agree with that notion. It is a very odd second part. It doesn't end as a basic second part of a trilogy would end.
You know what's weird about this?
What's that?
You like a lot of people I've talked to are mixed about this.
Yeah.
Like nobody really says, "Oh my god, I totally hate this movie," or "Oh my god, I totally love." Well, there are those people, but I've talked to a lot of people just since yesterday who were like, "You know what? I don't really know what to think. I'm not really
It's
sure."
a very polarizing movie.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just don't
Like,
feel
it just...
Lukewarm.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Pun intended.
Did you go see the new Star Wars? Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, man, it's
It's just there.
It's good.
Anyways.
Wasn't it pretty good? Yeah, it was okay. Like,
That was
let me get into my rating here.
okay.
This movie, it hurts me, man. Like, this movie doesn't care. It doesn't give a shit.
Let it out, Jay.
It doesn't give a sweet fuck about your love for Star Wars. It doesn't care about the mythos of Star Wars. It doesn't care that you like these characters. It doesn't care that you love this world. It doesn't care about any of that fucking shit. So if you love Star Wars, this movie is going to hurt you. I don't like this movie. Like, it's not an awful movie, like you guys said. There's beautiful stuff to look at it, and the actors are there. The acting between the acting from Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver is all great. That's all great. I love all that. It's just it's good when it stops trying to tell corny jokes and stop trying to plug toys. Like, that's when it's good. But it's just so, it hits you over the head, man. It's like, here you go. Let's just shove it in your face over and over again. Let's just beat you over the head with a hammer with this message, with this moral message that you have to get. You know, it's like, get the hell out of here. It's Star Wars. We don't need this shit. We don't need your view on politics in movies. Like, we already had that with the fucking prequels, and they're garbage. And this movie suffers immensely from prequel-itis. Oh, God, what do I want to give this movie? I've lost sleep over this movie. It was only last night. I came home.
It was only one night.
I know. I had to drink. I came home and I drank. It was so bad.
Jeez.
Goddamn you, Star Wars.
That's a bad sign. Crying himself to sleep.
And you're absolutely right, Clayton. I don't hate this movie. I almost feel like I have to watch it a second time to understand how I really feel.
Yeah.
I know what I want to give it, but I know what it deserves. And I feel like I should give it what it deserves because I don't want to see more Star Wars movies like this. And I need to fucking tell people. It's like, no, this isn't the direction we go with Star Wars.
Tell the truth.
Okay,
man.
before you give us a number, I need to know for my own sake. Is this going to be lower than Batman versus Superman?
No, it's not.
Oh,
no,
okay.
It's, I want to give it a 3. I want to give it a 3. I think it deserves a 2.5. Which is where Batman versus Superman is at.
So it matches Batman versus Superman. Okay.
But see, in that sense, you know what? In Batman vs. Superman is an unwatchable movie. So I'm going to give it 3. I'm going to give it a 3.
Because there's a bunch of good parts in the movie that you can watch. Like, there's a bunch of cool stuff that happens.
It's still Star Wars. I
just
love
doesn't-
Star Wars, and I can't take that away. Like, my love for Star Wars gives it that 3. But if
Yeah.
it wasn't for the 3, I'd give it a 2.5. But God, I'm going to shit on this movie when it
Yeah,
comes
me
spoiler
too,
time.
yeah.
Like, there's just so much wrong about this. Kathy said it doesn't get the tone of Star Wars, and that's one of the biggest flaws because we're Star Wars fans going to see Star Wars. You know we're diehards. Like, why are you trying to change things up now? Just stick with what works. People liked Force Awakens. You know what? I would have... I appreciate that they tried to tell a different story, but I would have rather seen a rehash of Empire than to see this, to be quite honest. I do appreciate that they tried something different, but they did too much different. And we're going to get into that into Spoiler Town. So, Kathy, we are going to flip into Spoiler Town now. This is where we're going to let you know what we really like and what we really, really, really don't like about this movie. And I'm going to let you know what I fucking don't like about this movie. Prepare for obscenities and spoilers. We're in Spoiler Town, folks.
Ooh.
Expletive.
A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, George Lucas dreamed up a beautiful world, and then one day Disney bought it and took a big heaping shit on it.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, George Lucas kind of shit on it.
He did! But
It was
at least
already a
it's
little
his
smelly.
creation, and he's allowed to shit on his own creation. Now Mickey Mouse just took a giant mouse turd on this. All right, Kathy, what's your favorite and least favorite of Star Wars? The last Star Wars movie ever. I mean, Jedi.
The Last Chance.
What I really, really loved about this movie is, of course, you see Mark Hamill, and it was really, really nice to see Princess Leia. You know what I mean? Because we know this is it, right? So it was really heartbreaking and really good to see her at the same time. And I loved how beautiful it was. It was a beautiful movie to watch. And I loved the acting. The things I didn't like, though. Oh yes, and the things I didn't like.
Yeah, they just
I can't
keep
help. I
nagging.
can't even help it. It's like the jokes seemed forced. Like in a good Star Wars movie, the comedy was there, but it was part of the character, and it was just the way they spoke, which made it funny. They were trying to make jokes.
Everybody was
funny.
funny.
And everyone was funny. It wasn't just moments, you know what I mean? They turned it
Into a Disney.
they
Or
turned
into a Marvel.
They turned it into a Marvel.
I just-
and I'm like, and that hurt a little bit. I'm like, no, keep it to the certain characters that are made to bring in the comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm a girl. I like cute little bird thingies,
The
But
porgs.
the porgs, yeah. But they did it too much.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar Binks was annoying as fuck, but at least he had a purpose.
Yeah.
These things were just there
A toy to
sell
sell.
toys.
Yeah.
It was like, merchandising.
Yeah, like Spaceballs said a long time ago.
Yeah, and then that's all it was. It's all it was. And they were cute as hell. And I liked, how Chewbacca and them interacted, and it was sweet.
Yeah, there was...
But there was too
Yeah.
freaking much
They
of it.
put him on
and
this
it was
camera
like,
too much.
It was like, you're giving me a cavity. Stop it. Star Wars, you're not supposed to give me teeth problems.
Yeah.
But those are the two big things that bugged me about the movie.
So,
Again,
that was your
felt
worst, and
forced.
your favorite was the return of Hamill and Fisher?
Exactly.
The nostalgia.
The nostalgia of it, and the music, and it
Just
had-
being brought
it
back
had
to that
I
world
enjoyed
still.
the Star Wars ingredients.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. But when they added the extra crap, that's when I was like, ow.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. It was just. It was like,
Kick me in the heart, you did.
I'm like, what? Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I just kept looking at the guys going, once in a while going, am I the only one? And I'm like, and I was
you must have
frightened.
seen me and him,
Well,
like,
he
being
had-
Clayton throwing our hands up
Yeah,
every
my-
once in a while. We're just
and
like...
when he didn't, he had like zero
Oh.
emotion on his face, and I'm not used to that from Clayton. You know what I mean?
My
Like,
hands-
I could tell by his demeanor he was not
He-
enjoying the movie.
and I
He was
heard
way
the
too
occasional
quiet to be-
sigh,
oh.
You know what I mean?
Am I so transparent? I
You
just
are.
couldn't. I tried. I really tried. But
I wanted to, like, because I love Star Wars.
after that first part, the opening scene with Poe and Hux, I was
Oh,
like,
right off the hop
yeah, I
with
was
the
like,
crappy
what?
humor.
Yes.
you like.
Honestly-
it just felt like they were trying too hard.
Yeah.
And I know that they changed the movie halfway through. You know what I mean? They had to refilm a bunch of it.
Yeah.
So it felt rushed. It didn't feel like it was given the
Disjointed.
love. Yeah, it didn't feel like it was given the love. And when the last movie came out, I was like, yes, it feels like they brought it back to feeling like a Star Wars movie. I was happy. And then I got this.
You got this.
And then I got this.
This.
And it pained me a little bit. And you know what? I'm usually, pretty loosey-goosey when it comes to movies. I can argue a bad plot point and make it make sense, but... Ow!
Not
Ow!
this time.
I wasn't in the nice, comfy little Star Wars pocket that I loved.
No.
I had pillows in there, and it didn't bring me to my little pocket with my pillows. Anyway, continue.
Take it away. What's your best and worst?
I'm gonna try to narrow it down a bit more.
What's your light side and dark side?
My light and dark side. Okay. I can do that actually because these work with that theme. So my favorite or light side of choices here. My favorite had to be the fact that they brought in some new Force elements into this movie that I haven't seen before. I don't know if you guys have picked up on some of them there. One of my favorites.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Please explain.
One of my favorites had to be literally finally Leia showing her abilities to use the Force. You really didn't like that?
You liked that scene?
Why wouldn't you expect it?
Are you talking about the death scene?
The fact that she literally had enough Force powers because she's part of the Skywalker
like
family.
that was out of left field.
I
that was
reject
out of
that.
left
Are you
field.
fucking kidding me?
I
Like
reject
out
that
of
point.
nowhere.
So you guys want to
like
see
in
the
Return of the
same-
Jedi, she used her like powers a little bit because she's able to communicate with Luke, and now all of a sudden she's so powerful that she can just resist death and float herself back to the blown up, like back to the ship. She was blown up, frozen.
Let him get his point out.
Okay,
Let him get his point out.
Go.
Go, Dave.
Wow, you guys took over for that comment.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm going to be
ahead.
honest, I
Go
see
ahead.
what you guys are talking about, but my opinion is that we needed new, fresh material. We get fresh material in a lot of ways. This one, I don't mind. The Force is the only element in the Star Wars universe that I have to kind of bend the rules a bit on occasion. I get why you're upset. The stupidity of coming back from the dead. We don't know if she was dead. She was just floating in space for a brief moment. It takes a while before the body actually completely freezes up. We'll never know because we're not going to shove ourselves in outer space.
We'll never know about a lot
But
of stuff.
what we do know, and what I've always believed, is that the Skywalker family, their bloodline, had such a strong affinity and fine tuning with the Force that anyone in their family had a means of using the Force to their own abilities. And I'm not saying that pulling herself back from the dead is what I got out of it. What I got out of it was the entire ship got blown up, so to speak, and the cockpit. And you're flailing your hand. You know for sure what would happen, Jay, if someone got blown out in outer space?
I knew this point was gonna come
You'd be
up.
fucking dead! Better than fucking dead!
Well, it's still my favorite. The point is, I just love the fact that they had tried something different, and I finally got to see fucking Leia use the Force. I got so pissed off after all these years where they've written it into her character that she's, I guess, Force sensitive is what they would probably say. No, she's not fucking Force sensitive. She's a fucking Skywalker. She should be able to use the Force to some degree. Maybe not as
I
powerful
agree with
as Luke,
that part.
but she was never
But why
trained
is
to
she
use
so
it.
fucking powerful
No,
all of a sudden?
you make it seem like she's
I
powerful.
don't make it seem the movie did. I didn't do that.
Someone
Okay.
gets blown
I
out.
didn't write this fucking movie.
Wow.
So it would have been better.
What's your dark side point?
Kind of feel like I lost my train of thought now after I had to fight for my good one. My least favorite had to simply be how they conveniently had Luke show up from across the galaxy using his Force powers only to kind of distract another strong Force user. In this case, Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren was definitely naive enough to think that Luke would have come out of his way to come, defend the rest of the rebels.
So you're talking about the scene where Luke kind of like they shoot. Like they've been like, oh, open fire on that man, and then all of a sudden they got the AT-ATs, they got all their guns. So looks like Luke might be dead, but he's still staying there. He's actually astral protecting himself. You're talking about that scene.
Yeah. The point is that Luke shows up at the very end of the movie to defend the rebels, and it gets to a point where he just conveniently dies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say this, guys, and I get the fact that he had even warned Rey that it takes a certain level of Force affinity to, I guess, portray yourself across the galaxy.
Kylo Ren says it halfway through the movie. When his and Rey's minds are linked together and they can see each other, he says, "Is this you?" And then he says, "No, this can't be you. The effort would literally kill you." Because the force, the amount of energy required to project yourself like that would, I guess, be... They tried to make like that foreshadowing, but they kind of fell on its face. But they did mention it before.
And you're right. I feel like that's exactly where they did explain it. But I just didn't like the fact that I guess it was the recreation of the scene of Obi-Wan turning off his lightsaber to have Darth Vader take him out in A New Hope. This idea that he's now realized He's done his job. He doesn't have to be around any longer.
He kind of
and
says something similar to what Kenobi says. You strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could ever imagine.
And it makes sense.
And
that
then
he
says, like, you strike me down, I will not be the last Jedi, is what he says.
But still, too fucking convenient. Luke does not deserve that kind of an ending to say that he's now done his job and taught Rey what he could teach her. He didn't teach her anything.
Like, anticlimactic.
It was definitely anticlimactic.
In place of a lightsaber battle, we got Jedi tricks.
I instantly got this feeling like, and I recognized it instantly. Oh, that's the scene that Obi-Wan had done when he let things happen and let Darth take him away, with one stroke of his lightsaber. Actually, they almost did that literally with Kylo Ren. He had that one last thrust, came forward at Luke, last, massive thrust, and he turns around and he's still standing there. And then slowly comes up to him and puts it through his body, and then we finally realize, oh, he's not there. Okay, fine. And then all of a sudden, he's now back on the other planet on the island.
Which was a cool effect. And
that part was cool.
And that's a cool new force power that I liked.
That's why it's kind of fun. It ties in with
the
my
fact,
original
like you
thought.
said, then he just dies anyways.
But
You're
he's
like,
convenient.
oh, well, I would have preferred a lightsaber battle if he was just going to die then.
I know. It was just way too convenient, and I get that there was this certain use of the powers. That's why I didn't call this one of my favorites. It did infuse a little bit of a different use of the force powers, which is fine. I just didn't like the fact that, again, Luke conveniently dies in such a way that now I get to look forward to never seeing him ever fucking again in the rest of the series.
There's a lot of things you won't get to look forward to in the next movie. Clayton, best and worst. Please save some for me.
Yes. Okay, the reason I hate that fucking Leia scene is because she is... It's not like she is thrown or jumps out of the cockpit or something. The fucking cockpit is obliterated. Akbar dies. Who else dies?
Everyone else is in there.
Everybody else dies. She is blown out of the ship. Now, if she's blown out of the ship with force, she's going to keep going. It's space. You don't just go 200 feet out and then stop. 1. 2, you freeze to death in a matter of seconds. Like, your body will be a block of ice.
Takes a couple of minutes.
3, the fucking thing about this point is that they conveniently have Leia wake up, fly herself back into the ship, and then go into a fucking coma for the next third of the movie. What the fuck? It was a plot convenience. It's called plot armor. You make a character invincible so that you can use them later on. It was bullshit.
I didn't refer to the coma part, by the way. I was referring to the fact that finally Leia had the use of her power.
But she, but
which would have been fine.
I could have lived with
which
that.
Would
but
have
then
been
she just
fine.
goes into a coma.
But it's like the power it's too powerful. Like, where did she learn to get that powerful that fast? There was no progression.
Yeah, and then there's fucking, oh my god, there's so many other fucking things. The humor, terrible. Absolutely fucking god awful. There were flashes of good Star Wars humor in there. I'm doing my worst first, by the way.
Go ahead.
There are flashes of the good old style Star Wars humor in there, and then they just keep beating you over the head with this stupid shit. Marketable fucking toys, the porgs. I did like the fucking Greyhound moose dogs though. There, the great big bad-eared.
Well, I didn't mind the animals so much. Like, I don't mind because that's like when you're going to planets, you naturally you would see new creatures, right?
It's my worst thing is the plot contrivances. Okay, so there's the one about Leia, and then there's this entire subplot with Finn and his new love there, Rose. What the fuck? Let's go to a casino planet.
Character.
Blah blah blah. We'll find a code breaker. Well, we don't find the code breaker. We find a code breaker conveniently, who leads them back to the ship.
Who was played by Benicio del Toro.
Who just serviceably gets them back to the plot so that he can betray them.
This movie needed more of him.
And then when Finn... Yeah, it did, actually. And then when Finn's going to blow up the cannon on the way, the Rebel base camera, he's flying through the fucking beam. He looks over and sees his guns melting. He's like, oh, well, guess I'll keep going.
Yeah, he's flying directly at it. Not like trying to swerve.
There's an entire row of AT-ATs that are not firing at him. What the fuck? And then, out of fucking nowhere, Rose is like, I'm gonna save your life by fucking broadsiding you with a fucking spaceship and crashing it into the fucking ground.
I saved your life. But you fucked the rest of us.
Right after she says she saved his life, you see the door to the base get fucking vaporized.
Just like, you might have saved me, you crazy bitch, but now you doomed us all.
And then, okay, so Luke, you don't know that Luke is astrally projecting at first, right? So he goes on to the Millennium Falcon and he grabs this pair of golden dice, this trinket. Okay, so now
It's supposed to supposedly belong to Han Solo. I've never seen him use it
before, but he actually grabs it and picks it up and takes it to fucking Leia, gives it to her, and then after he disappears, the fucking dice disappear. She's like, "Oh, I'm so happy that you're here at the end," but you're not really. He grabs her and kisses her on the forehead. And then he gets run through and he can't touch anything. And Poe's like, "Oh my God, well, there's got to be another way out. Luke got in." Yeah, but Luke didn't actually get in. He astrally projected himself there. They could have gone to the back of the cave, scratching with their fingers at the fucking walls and not found anything. But yet there's conveniently a fucking bouldered in entrance at the back of the fucking wall. Like, this shit just doesn't make any sense. There were so many open-ended, empty bullshit things.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, Jay? I'm gonna leave some for you.
Yeah, please.
But you gotta mention
I
Snoke
don't even
Phasma.
think there's enough you can say. I bet you can say what you think you got off your chest. I'll still find things.
The point is that this fucking movie takes the second act of a 3-act play and fucking cuts it right in half. And then going into the third one, there are very, very few arcs left over. They've stripped everything out.
There's nothing to look forward to
There
in the
isn't
next
anything
movie.
to look forward to. Okay, so my good point
Is there any?
is that when it is Star Wars, it's really good.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Luke has finally learned the truth about the actual balance of the Force, and that he's the Grey Jedi, and that there's no, like, if the Jedi are in control or if the Sith are in control, the Force is actually not in balance. The true nature of the balance is nature itself, and he teaches that to Rey. So going forward, she knows that. That's awesome. And on top of that, some of the cinematography, like when Admiral Holdo, whatever her name was.
Yeah, the one that
she also
Laura
died.
Dern played.
Yeah, she takes the super cruiser and
Light speeds through the ship?
through the command ship. That looked absolutely.
What they call that
gorgeous.
ship again? The
No, it wasn't the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
It was the command ship. The Dreadnought's the one they blew up at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that scene with the light coming from the back.
Oh,
of the
that
ship
was
and
such a cool scene.
It was that,
and it was like
alone warranted
that's one
seeing it in
thing. It's like the
theaters.
whole theater was silent.
Yeah, when it's Star Wars, it was very Star Wars, but they just
Yeah.
kept on, like Kathy said, they just kept on smacking stuff over on top of it and kept on muddling their fingers in there and beating it around until they really fucked it up.
Yeah.
That's my good and my bad.
Okay, I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna start with my good because once I start with my bad, there's no stopping. So I love Star Wars. I don't like this movie. Like, I have a heart for Star Wars. This director, not so much this movie. This director, this Rian Johnson motherfucker, he directed and wrote this fucking garbage. He is not a Star Wars fan. And if he is, maybe he has some crazy weird of idea of how Star Wars should be. But no, this is not how Star Wars should be. This is bullshit. And I'm not the only person who's saying that. I've read a lot of, like, nasty reviews about this movie, and I pretty much agree for the most part. You're right, Clayton. When this movie wants to stop shoving merchandise in your face and stop with the corny ass fucking jokes and starts settling down and being a Star Wars movie, it's awesome. It's great. I love Star Wars. But this fucking movie sucks. Like, it's just... Why did you do this, Rian Johnson? You suck. Who are you? You did Looper? What? I've seen other shit. Look at you directed a few episodes of Breaking Bad. What would he fucking do? Like, this guy has no credentials for this kind of movie, and it shows. Like, I don't really think this guy is a Star Wars fan. The good stuff, I want to get into the good stuff. It was great to see Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver come back to reprise their roles because they are both great actors, and I enjoyed watching their interactions on the screen. That stuff was good. Mark Hamill was great as the haunted Jedi who didn't know what he wanted to, he didn't know if he wanted to teach this to Rey because he didn't know the direction the Force was going. So that was good stuff. Like, the actors are great, so glad to see them. Glad to see Carrie Fisher back again, too, And I like the new creatures, like not so much the what were those things called?
Porgs.
Not so much those things. Like, those were okay in short little clips, but then they just kept shoving them in your face. Okay, that's enough now.
Well, the fucking Millennium Falcon was like infested with them by the end.
Well, that was
little
kind of
nests.
funny.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny until they just started showing them too much. It's like, hey, enough.
At one point, I think they had one actually plastered on.
Yeah,
the
that
screen,
was
like,
a bad spot.
What the fuck?
The crystal critters were cool.
The salt cats, yeah.
Yeah, that was, and also that planet was cool because you thought it was snow and then it ended up being salt.
Yeah.
So that was neat. I like that too. So it was like a salt planet. That was neat.
I like the fact that salt was red.
Well, when it was turned up, it would turn red.
Yeah.
When they're flying through underground there, it's all.
It was
red,
very
red
beautiful
crystal.
to look at.
Yeah.
And that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I know if you go to the Utah salt flats, I think that same effect would occur when salts it raises to the surface, and I think it's because there used to be a sea or it was a salt body of salt water, right? So that I think that's what the idea was, that this entire planet used to be covered in water, and then over the generations and over time it literally lost all its water, but all the salt was left. Hence, it was perfect for mining.
It was interesting that the surface was salt, but then underneath was also crystal as well. Like the whole planet was just one big ball of crystal, eh?
Perfect for mining. It probably had the right amount of resources to literally put a base there for good reason.
Perfect for flying a Millennium Falcon through too.
Oh yeah, that made for an amazing.
It was a good.
Well, they had to give us at least one Millennium Falcon eye candy shot. At least they gave us that.
That was one of the high points for me out of The Force Awakens. Actually, was that awesome scene where Ridley
they're flying through the old
Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer, yes,
that was neat.
And then when she just knew the perfect time to shoot. To let Finn know when to shoot, when
she flips it.
That was awesome.
It's because the gun was
stuck
like, in position.
This movie needed more of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that was the good stuff. When it stops being goofy and trying to plug toys, and trying to hit you over the head with some moral thing, then it's good. It's good. It's Star Wars. But then it's just too much of that other crap. And so I'm gonna get into the bad. Also, I don't like I think we already talked about the Leia thing. Like, I don't like how suddenly she's just super powerful. I would have liked a smaller progression. I don't mind her using her abilities, but use it in something that we've seen before. It's like, oh, that's cool, she's using her abilities. But it's like, oh, suddenly she's like defies death, and it's like, okay, this is pointless because we know Carrie Fisher's dead in real life, so we know eventually they got to kill this character off anyways. Yeah. So when it happened, I was kind of like, oh, so this is how it happens? I was kind of upset, but then I was like, okay, well, I guess this is it. They're just going to cut that limb right off and just get it over with. And then she starts moving her fingers. I'm like, oh, no.
I thought what was actually more interesting about that was the fact that Ren was actually zeroing in on the cockpit, and then he pulled back.
That was more interesting. See, and that was one of those very rare moments where Kylo is... You're seeing the conflict inside.
But that right there was a subtle use of her Force powers, of the fact that she's strong with the Force, the fact that they had that mind connection that when he got close, you know, they're already...
That's already a Force-sensitive thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll be honest, I'm going to go even one step further, guys. It's sometimes less of a Force issue for me in that question. It was a matter of they could sense each other, and he knows damn well that's his mother on the other end. I don't care what anyone says. If your parents are... He even goes on to acknowledge Han Solo as his father, even though he seems to disapprove of him being the father figure. He still acknowledges him.
I got something funny to say.
I still find that Leia's in the same position, even though Leia's a lot less hot-headed and a lot less troublesome. He still views her as his mother, and I think that's what I got out of that. It's like he hesitated because it was either they got the connection or he understood. Oh, I'm about to kill my mother here. Can I do that?
But he felt his mother. And I think they were sensing each other as Force-sensitive people tend to do. So it's kind of like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this. So he stops doing it, and then before he knows it, someone else blows the ship up.
You know, though, like Kylo Ren he's an interesting character because he is actually more conflicted than Darth Vader even ever was.
Yeah,
because
big time.
He stops short of killing his mother, but kills his father.
He's killed his father.
It's like he's always going back and forth. You know what I mean? That day he killed his father.
Until eventually
he spared his mother. Yeah. You know, and then
he doesn't want to kill Rey either.
Yeah,
and so he just says fuck this shit, and then he just kills.
But he
kills.
He always manages to find the resolve at some point to end somebody's life. You know, like
all right. So so Snoke is gone. Like everything they built up with that character is totally gone. I felt like they did that a lot. I felt like this Rian Johnson dude. He just like. It's like, I didn't like Force Awakens. And he just like, that's gone. Throw that out the window. Apparently, Rey's lineage doesn't fucking matter. What? That was like one of the big things that are carrying over. Maybe Kylo is lying.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they kind of made it seem like with the kid grabbing the broom at the end, using it as a lightsaber, like with the Last Jedi going away and the burning of the books, like, okay, like the Skywalkers don't matter anymore. The Skywalkers are gonna die, and now everyone else can just become Force-sensitive people, and they're the chosen ones now.
You know, and that's what I was saying about how they split the trilogy in half. Is that they had all these cool characters like, oh, we got Supreme Leader Snoke.
Phasma's dead.
He's the new big guy. Oh, and he's dead. Fuck you. You wanted answers about who
Great
he was?
character,
Dead.
played by Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah, Phasma's
gone.
Same thing. Oh, we're all
What
so
the
scared
fuck?
of her. She's a chrome
What the
stormtrooper
fuck?
with a cape, and everybody's scared of her. And oh,
They
she
made
fights
her.
once and
They made
she's
her
dead.
exactly like Boba Fett. She didn't fucking matter. She's gone.
Yeah, exactly. so they swept, like you said, Rian Johnson. It's like he swept all the cool stuff that they built up in Force Awakens. And now going into the third one, it's like, okay, well now we have a completely new conflict.
Nothing. There's nothing going
And
in.
everything's
We
stripped
know
out.
that Kylo is going to be the leader of the First Order now. He's the commander of the First
But to
Order.
what end? Like,
The new Supreme Commander, yeah.
but to what end?
Or Supreme Leader, sorry.
To what end? The only person he's got to go against is Rey. Everybody else is dead.
Okay, so I don't even
Why?
think...
And why does he even care
my
that
God.
much about
Well,
it?
So another one of my favorite scenes is when Rey and Kylo actually join forces to take out...
That was a good fight scene.
Yeah.
A lightsaber scene, yes.
That's the only lightsaber fight you get in the movie, because it's not really a lightsaber duel at the end with Kylo and Luke. And so that's not really one. And then the thing is, that's not even really a lightsaber duel because they're not fighting each other. This is the only Star Wars movie that doesn't have the Jedi versus Sith duel.
Yeah. Some of those moves that they used were pretty cool. Like, but I wonder, like, why were Snoke's guys were taking out one fully trained Sith and one half-trained Jedi. Like, those guys are strong. The guys in the red.
Yeah. That was one of the better scenes for sure. And that's because it was one of the few scenes that felt like Star Wars. It felt awesome. And then I also got excited about the potential of that. I'm like, oh my god, Rey's gonna join the dark side. This is gonna be awesome. Nope. I thought, man, how awesome would it have been if they just took out... Why do I keep forgetting his name? Snoke. And his fucking red troopers, and then they're the fucking First Order. You know, like Hux comes in, he's like, "Oh, you killed the Supreme Leader." He's like, "Yeah, well, I'm the Supreme Leader now. We're the Supreme Leaders now." And it's like, you know how interesting it would be, and to give it that dark tone like you get from Empire. Could you imagine? Join me, and then Rey grabs it, and then and then you think there's like, oh shit, Rey joined the dark side. Now you got something to carry yourself in the next movie because Rey's actually still trying to turn Kylo, and that's a good story!
It's because before that, Luke set up the whole thing teaching her about the balance of the Force and walking the middle of the line and stuff, and then so when she decides to go back to Kylo, it's kind of like they're bending the rules and they're blending light and dark together. Mm-hmm. Light and dark are actually they're one thing. They're two halves of the same coin, right? So when he asks her, I was like, oh man, yeah, join, fuck. Walk that middle path. And then see what happens in the third movie.
And that's where I thought it was going. That was going to be cool.
Snoke. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to add to that. All of that would make a much better movie without even second guessing it, because it's like you said there, Jay. It would set the dark tone that I think the second movie, what I was hoping for. There would be no confusion. You knew exactly at least where these characters stood. We get that Rey's not quite sure of herself. She doesn't know where she fits within the universe.
Yeah.
She even said it, I think, somewhere along this movie.
Yeah.
And we know at the same time that Kylo Ren understands where she's coming from, right? So, of course, we've got these two characters that are in conflict in their own ways. But Rey is truly a kind person. She's never been evil in any way. Kylo, on the other hand, clearly had the capabilities of being evil because he keeps showing it every time he gets a chance. Mm-hmm. And if anything, he's been trying to impress the Supreme Leader, you know? Mm-hmm. But
you know,
put the two together.
Like Snoke, how did Snoke start the First Order? How did he get a hold of Ben Skywalker?
We don't know anything about this.
That's what I mean. So they were. I was expecting they were going to build it up, especially when they actually started.
And now
to
he's
show
dead,
him.
so you don't know fuck all.
Well, that's what I mean. They started to show him. They didn't
Sith
show
Lord?
just
Like, who was he?
They didn't just show the apparition or the visage of him. They actually showed him. I was like, cool. They're going to get.
And he's wearing his like Hugh Hefner robe.
I thought it was awesome. I was like, oh, we're going to get to know who Snoke is. We're going to find out how he got a hold of Ben and all this stuff. And then they fucking kill him, and it's like, fuck you. Like what? Even though it was cool how he died.
It was cool, but it would have been a lot cooler if they accented it with the join me and then they both, you think Rey's going to the dark side. I'm like, cool, this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
But now they did it for nothing. It's like, okay, because Rey just, where'd Rey go? Oh, she took off in a ship. Like, what?
Yeah,
Like, and
exactly.
you just let her go? Like, what is
Exactly.
happening?
Yeah, she just
What is happening in this
stole the
fucking
ship
movie?
and took off. Like what? Like what? Really? Like and got past all of the other fucking like they were on the command ship. The command ship's just been split in half. The fighters are all scrambled, and yet she manages to fly his command ship out of there without so much as a fuck you later. Like, okay, whatever. We're just not going to talk about that. Or let's not talk about the fact that Vice Admiral Holdo's fucking escape plan was fly straight, don't do anything for 6 hours.
And then didn't tell anyone else.
Yeah, for
like
what reason?
Had Poe Dameron go crazy. Even though Poe Dameron's a jackass in this movie, he's still like, what are we doing? They're killing us. Like, why aren't we leaving?
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, I got a plan and I'm in command anyway, so it doesn't matter. Stop it. You know, like, what?
Fly straight, don't speed
You're
up.
like a
what?
you're a tight-knit little rebellion. I think you would let everyone know in on the plan unless you're worried about a mole or, like, you know, something like that, which there wasn't any. So what were they worried about?
And what, like, yeah, and the thing is too, like, there seems to be a lot of like dissent among the ranks in the rebellion. Anyway.
Yeah!
Because at the beginning,
What was that?
at the beginning, Poe flies the ship.
Oh my God.
Leia tells him to stand down, not to hit the dreadnought, and he's like, whatever, fuck you. And then all the rest of the military's like, yeah, well, hey, whatever, fuck you. We're following Poe, and they all go in. And
There's
they
a
get
mutiny.
Wiped the fuck
There's
out.
a mutiny in the rebellion.
And
What the fuck?
And nobody ever talks about it. They're like, whatever, you're demoted to captain.
No, they talked about it.
He would, yeah.
Laura
he
Dern was
demoted-
like, he's a troublemaker. I like that one. And Carrie Fisher was like, me too. And then that was it.
I know, but he got demoted from commander to captain, and that was it. Like, yeah, you just cost us an entire bomber squadron and a whole bunch of lives. Like, you see, she looks on the console, and you can see all the ships wiped out, and she's like, well, I guess I'm going to demote him. No, he gets court-martialed and thrown in the brig if he doesn't get executed and fucking buried in space. Like, they wouldn't, like...
They're a small rebellion. They don't got troops to spare for that
they
kind of
can't-
stuff.
they can't
You can
afford
spare
to.
one guy who just cost you 100. Like, okay, well,
He's
you know what,
still-
just, you're dead.
He's still
Stab,
very,
stab, stab.
he's still very much their best pilot. I'm gonna say that much. I'm sorry to say, but if I'm commanding
I don't know,
a
man.
rebel force that
Sorry.
have little to no, I can't afford to actually lose any men, especially my best pilot. I would continually demote him because if he's never gonna follow my orders, fuck yeah, there's no chance you're ever gonna keep your
You cost
your
me. We don't have enough money. We have no friends. Nobody's coming to help us. We have no
Oh,
finances.
that was also
We have
no
no
one's
finances.
coming.
You just
Like,
cost us
what?
like 20 ships and a whole bunch of lives. You are going
They should
to
call
jail.
this- they
you
should
are
call
not
this Star
getting
Wars
demoted. You're not
No
fucking
Hope.
sticking around. Yeah, a no hope.
They should, because that's what it is. They're like, no one's coming to save us. Like, no one gives a shit about the Skywalkers anymore.
Oh, but Luke just gave me some dice.
Everything that you know about the Force is a lie. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. How dare you like Star Wars?
I don't even like what they did with Yoda.
I don't like that either.
Oh, actually, I do want to bring up something about Yoda though that I
He
think
looked
I
weird.
was a bit
They
appreciative
squished
of
his
it.
head.
Well, there was that, but you know what it was that I
They
caught
tried to make him look like the puppet.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I think they went out of their way to make it look like the prosthetic or the
puppet.
the puppet version of him in the original series, right? I kind of take a little bit of nostalgia along with that feeling. It wasn't to say it was the best looking Yoda. I mean, I
sounded
would rather
weird.
take back the heavy CG Yoda that we got in the prequels before we go back to
Yeah.
this. If there's
Me
a
too.
moment to use actual, props for a certain effect, this one didn't deserve it. I feel like Yoda could have been just as easily represented in CG, and I would have been perfectly
He
fine.
was CG.
Well, yeah, I know, but you noticed, you said yourself, it
They
looked
made it-
like
But that's
the
the
puppet.
stupid part about it. It was CG, but they made him look like the puppet, which was dumb.
For all I know, it could have been a puppet, but
It
with
looked
CG
like
they
over top.
unsuccessfully
He
made
looked
him
like
look like
a
the
weird mutant living puppet thing. It was like, ugh. He looks odd.
I will say he did look a little bit odd, but I was like, I didn't even know what to. By the time he showed up in the movie, I didn't.
You were already checked out. You're just.
I didn't even know what to think. But it was. You're right. It was weird that they made him look like the puppet, but they used CG when they could have just used the puppet and achieved better.
They should
better
just.
effects.
If they're gonna use CG, they should have used the CG version of him.
He comes flying and doing his
Either
little
use the
flips with his
puppet or
sword
use
there.
the-
Yeah,
Don't try to
that's
combine
some
the
weird
two.
hybrid between the two. It was odd.
Yeah, that took more steam out of me is that scene.
I was afraid actually that when they started talking about a safecracker and they were going to a casino planet, that they were going to shrink the universe by reintroducing Lando Calrissian. I was afraid.
Maybe we do need a little Lando in here, but the Benicio del Toro character, there definitely could have been more of him.
Yeah, I'd like to see him.
And the casino scene, oh god, that reminded me more of the prequels more than any of them, that part. With all the CGI characters and that little creature trying to put the coins into BB-8,
Actually, you know what I found about that? There was a disproportionate amount of humans in that scene. I always liked the canteen scene.
It wasn't a cantina scene, it was just...
On Mos Eisley, I like that scene because there were it was like the Lucas just gave a bunch of people a bunch of a bunch of materials and said, make a bunch of different aliens, you know? So all the different people inside of the bar are all different. But then when you go into the casino, they're all human. I was thinking to myself, I would like to see this scene
CGI creature
with none of the actual human characters in it, and it
can be done.
Pretty empty.
It can be done. Look at Force Awakens with Maz Kanata's place. It's totally like the Mos Eisley scene.
Yeah.
And then this is just right back to the prequels with the crappy CGI alien characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Speaking of, what's her name? They're from that.
Maz Kanata?
She shows up in this one.
Yes.
And has anyone quite figured out why she was in combat? What was it she had commented on in the middle of the video?
I don't know. She said, I would help you, but I'm tied up. She didn't really say why. And then she made some sort of sexual comment about the coder. She's like, because she made a sort of comment about like that with Chewbacca in the first movie, so now she made a comment like that about the coder. Yeah. When they don't get the coder, they get Benicio del Toro.
They get a coder.
Yeah.
All right, who is that guy? No, who cares? We don't care. Yeah. We just don't care.
And he just disappears later. He's such a cool character. And I thought when the ATSTs were shooting at them, I thought that was going to be him hacking into... And no, it's just BB-8. Like, what? They totally make BB-8 like R2, like in the way he is in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, he has a mind of his own. He can combat people. He's got all these extra things that it seems awkward that he can do. Like, he's just a character on his own. I don't like that.
Speaking of combat on his own, I don't understand how they figured out a way to get BB-8 to combat, 5 or 6 security officers in that hallway before Benicio del Toro comes into the room and
he's like, did you do this? Yeah.
Like, really? BB-8, I'm sorry, but he's not a combat droid.
Yeah, all the stuff that BB-8 was doing was what this Benicio del Toro character should have been doing.
Why is all the action happening off screen? You know what
I
mean?
Like,
he just shows up and fucking all the guys are suddenly done. Like, what? Okay.
Awful.
I think the only 2 things I thought I'd mention that I thought, now that I think hard on, were a little awkward. One, the milking of whatever that fucking creature was on the island. That was uncomfortable for me. And what does Rey do? She looks at the creature, and the creature just kind of looks at her, and she's like, oh, should I not look? I'm sorry.
Yeah, like...
What the fuck was that about?
That was more of that awkward humor.
Yeah.
And those weird little aliens that were the caretakers of the island, like, what were those things? They just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I kind of got the impression that there was no one on the island but Luke, so I don't understand why they were there.
That's what I was thinking, but apparently not.
I was asking myself, who built the roads? Who built the houses and stuff? Because he didn't build it. Because look at the stick that he used to go fishing. It was like 40 feet long. There's no 40-foot trees on that island. You know what I mean? Like,
I never thought of that.
Well, it's like, and then he's just like, oh, these are these conveniently placed plot items. They take care of the island. They have for thousands of generations. Okay, whatever, Luke, you're the master, I guess.
That's an interesting way of fishing, by the way. I'm gonna pole jump over across this area, this little bay-like ravine area. Oh, and if you fall to your death, oh, whoop-de-doo, that's part of the job.
Yeah.
You finally make it to the other end, and how the hell do you fucking see the fish down there?
Yeah, I know.
It's so damn high
up.
up.
And then Rey looks down into the water and sees his X-Wing fighter, and you're like,
yeah, Luke, you think he's
X-Wing.
gonna pull it out of the water at some point? Does he? No! Just like every other thing about this movie that's so anticlimactic. Oh my god!
They tease, and they
don't give you anything. They don't deliver. That's what I mean. This Rian Johnson guy, he's not a Star Wars fan. He's a fucking troll. He's like, oh here, I'm gonna dangle it, but nope, we're not ever gonna use it. Oh, remember all that cool stuff we had in Force Awakens? Bye bye! I threw it out the window. Yeah. Like fuck you, Rian Johnson. Fuck you and your new trilogy that they're giving you, because I am not going to watch that bullshit, and you can go fuck yourself. And Disney, if you give that motherfucker that trilogy and you actually stick with it, and you let him make the new trilogy after the Skywalker saga, I'm not watching it. Guess what? I'm not watching it. And if the third one is like this movie, I'm not watching any more of your crappy Star Wars movies. I got my 3 originals, and that's all I fucking need. So fuck you, Disney.
You know, the funny thing is, too, is that this is actually the second high-profile flop for Disney and the Star Wars license in a matter of, 2 months. With the Battlefront 2 scandal there, with all the microtransactions.
Yeah, why is Star Wars turning into a cash
Garbage.
grab?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a cash grab.
I'm not surprised by that, but this is something we've been worried about for years.
I know.
It was a
Since
matter
Disney
of time.
took over, yeah.
That's what I was worried about with Force Awakens, but J.J. Abrams thankfully made that a great movie. And now...
It's merchandising.
Exactly! Alright, so final thoughts. Let's get the hell out of here.
Okay, this is an okay movie. It's bad if you're a Star Wars movie, and it's good
what?
if you don't really care about anything, and you have nothing that you hold sacred. It's an okay movie. If you like Star Wars, you're gonna hate this movie.
Ugh, yes.
I can't even my send off is mixed. I don't know what to do about this. I'm disappointed.
Kathy?
Pretty much the same. I have to rewatch the movie just like everyone was saying, just to get a real feel for
grasp of where they're going with this?
Yeah, exactly. Or how I even feel about the movie. I liked it, but I was brokenhearted as a Star Wars fan.
Da Boo.
I feel like we're all in the same boat. It's still one you guys want to see. I'm gonna repeat what I've said with some other movies. This is a theater movie by far first. You can see it at home. It's not to say you can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray or DVD. It's just that it is the kind of movie meant to be seen in theaters. So if you don't do it at least at some point this holiday season, guys, make sure you do. But in the end, you guys said it yourselves. If you're a big enough Star Wars fan, be very careful. Don't have too many expectations going in, or any for that matter. Just go in with maybe none, and you'll hopefully have something good coming out of it.
So you have to go see this movie yourself, regardless of what we say, because the visuals alone are worth it. And if you're a little bit of a Star Wars fan, you owe it to yourself to at least see for yourself and not let other people's opinions sway you. Because it's a very polarizing movie. It's not the typical Star Wars movie. And like they said, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're probably not gonna like this movie. Maybe you'll like it if you're not such a huge Star Wars fan as we are. I don't know. I've heard people say they like this movie because finally it's bringing in a different direction, and that Force Awakens just hit too many notes in New Hope. But I liked Force Awakens, so... I
like the new stuff they added. I just don't like all the other shit that they threw onto it.
Anyways, so you gotta check this out. So you can follow the conversation. We promise nothing. Drop the G. Give us a big old like on Facebook because we like when you do that. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment below. Doesn't matter what the comment is. Just say Star Wars is awesome or say I hate this movie. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, if you disagree with anything we said, as I said before, leave a comment. But as always,
we
promise nothing.